Hello, beauties. So I want to take just a few minutes here and talk to you a little bit about some of the resistance that you might be encountering and a way to understand where it's coming from and some ways around, working um, working with the energy, with acknowledging and making some agreements. I'm not a huge fan of an adversarial relationship with it because what we resist persists. It creates more angst than is needed. So this will all make sense in a second as we move forward. But yeah, anyway, so this work will especially when you begin to look for qualities, it feels all sexy and like, ooh, that's kind of cool and exciting in the beginning. And then as you get into it, both fear and the ick begin to get stirred up. And the ick will stir up your fear like nobody's business because it's very, very threatening to the ick to have you begin to step into a new reality and you claim something different than this nice, cozy little world that this particular set of beliefs has instituted for you. So all sorts of things begin to happen as far as the resistance that may show up for this. And I want to be really clear here. It's kind of a thing in the coaching community um, to use resistance as kind of a thing to shame people with and something to beat people over the head with. And I'm not talking about that. Your body has a knowing, your soul has a knowing. That's the whole point of why we're here, is trying to get you back to this place of being able to say, yeah, this is who I am and this is what I know. And resistance can be a very important tool in your toolbox to help figure out what's true for you. It's one of those things that's not black and white, and it's a little bit of a tricky dance to work with. So, there are times when we are just flat out in resistance to something, and it's because there's a part of ourselves that knows that, no, this is not good for me, or this is not the direction I need to go in. And that's always a resistance that should be honored and should be listened to. And we've been shamed too many times about listening to it, especially in the coachy world. So I want to be really clear that I'm not talking about all resistance is just, something that needs to be put down and overrun, because that's not it. But when you're on a path of something and it's going to create more, it's going to be a contribution, it's going to create for your higher good, and there's resistance, that's when I'm talking about, fear that can come into play. And a few years, well, more than a few years back, several years back, I spent 3 years mentoring with some people who were involved in the Hendricks body of work. And you can see more about that by going to I think it's hendricksinstitute.com or hendricksinstitute.org. But anyway, they're really amazing people, changed my life, but I won't go too far down that path right now. What I learned, though, during that time is that fear has 4 faces, and we know 2 of the 4 really well, fight or flight. But there are another 2 that don't get mentioned a whole lot, and those are fainting and freezing. And I want to go through each of those, and I want to talk about briefly how they might be expressing themselves for you as you are attempting to do this work right now. So fainting, no, I don't want to start there. Sorry. So, so fight. Fight is exactly what it sounds like. When it comes to to our bodies or whatnot being physically threatened, sometimes people will turn and fight as their reaction. In this particular instance, what might be coming up is a feeling of let's see, how do I explain this so that it will make sense? Kind of a feeling of like, well, fuck you, I'm not doing that, this is crazy, this is dumb. So feelings of anger, feelings of wanting to be contentious, feelings of wanting to kind of like pick a fight, or, you know, that kind of petty, like, meh about it. That's how fight might be manifesting right now for you, which is really just about being afraid. You know, this part of you that has unconsciously, and I want to emphasize unconsciously, lived comfortably in these roles for so long, is running scared. And so it might show up as fight in this particular circumstance. Flight. So flight is running away. Well, in this particular work, how are you running away? Running away can look like, oh, well, I just have got, all of a sudden I've got all these things scheduled, and so I couldn't possibly take the time to do this work. Or, oh yeah, well, you know, I just did this thing, and I have to do this thing with this person. That's the only possible time that they could do it, instead of being willing to go in and say, I wonder what another possibility is. I wonder how there could be an and here. I wonder how I could show up on the call, how I could do the work, how I could take 20 minutes here and still, you know, take care of X, Y, or Z. It's oftentimes a very, very sudden busyness, or I just, you know, again, goes back to kind of like, I have to do this thing, or I have to do that thing, or I have to meet with this person, or I have to schedule this appointment, and not having a willingness to explore where's the and here? How could both happen? And one of the clues that you can kind of tell that this is going on for you is you'll find yourself with a feeling, a sense of relief, like, oh, there's this kind of lightness or this sense of relief when you find that you're too busy to do the thing. I know nothing about this, by the way. Never, ever, ever happens to me. Not ever a tactic I've used. So, you know, this is just purely, you know, theoretical. Anyway, so the next way that fear can manifest itself is by fainting. Now, there is the literal, like, oh, boom, you know, crash. Somebody literally passes out and faints. But that's not actually as common. Fainting, the most two common ways that it can look are, oh, I'm just so tired. Wow, I'm just so tired, especially if you are, if you've got some time that's opened up to look at images or to go over qualities, and you're just suddenly so tired. Oh, I'm just so tired. Or, you know, the call is coming up and you're like, oh, I'm just so tired. I'm so tired. Or you've got an opportunity to continue to build your altar and, oh, I'm just so tired. You get the point. The other thing that it can express itself as is confusion. What? I don't get this. I'm so confused. Like my head won't wrap around it. It doesn't make any sense. I'm so confused. That's another form of fainting. It's another way of your fear just being like, it does not compute. We cannot do this. It is not safe. So notice if there's any of that coming up for you while you're attempting to do this work. And then the last one is freezing. And while I also do a fair bit of fleeing, I'm a classic freezer from way back. So a freezing is you literally just get stuck. You don't move. and this can manifest in a few different ways. It can be, sitting in front of your images and just, 10 minutes later, you're not even aware of where your thoughts went or what was going on, because you're just still sitting in front of the images and nothing has happened. It can be like a literal physical freezing. I had an experience, probably the best way I can illustrate this is I had an experience about, it's been almost 10 years ago now. Actually, it has been 10 years ago now. Wow. That my very first business that I got involved with was a business that I bought from someone else, and was really naive, didn't know what the hell I was doing. And the business went under. It's a long story, but let's just, due to my own naivete, the business went under. And lots of stuff happened, but part of what I was experiencing was that I was having bill collectors call me. And this was before all the laws that reformed this went into effect. But I was having bill collectors calling me from 8 o'clock in the morning until 10 o'clock at night, about every 20 minutes. And it was hard. And I had taken a call from one bill collector who was quite nasty. And all of a sudden my phone rang, and I looked down, and it was obviously another call from a bill collector. And I was like, oh my gosh, what are they doing calling me right back? And when I looked at the time on my phone, I realized 20 minutes had gone past. And I had just been literally sitting there frozen in the same spot. The phone had been held in my hand in the same way. I'd been sitting in the same position. Like 20 minutes had gone by, and I didn't even realize it, because it'd been a nasty call and I was frozen to the spot. So I am definitely one of those people who, if something bad is coming, in the movies, when they show something bad coming and the person like stands rooted to the spot, that would be me. I would have the giant wave coming after me or whatever. It's just part of my makeup. So in this work, where are you freezing? Where are you, sitting and like 20 minutes later, nothing has happened with your images and you didn't even realize the time had passed? Or where are you just, opening up your computer to look at some things, and then you're still sitting there with nothing happening? So just be, these are just some things to be aware of. And the awareness is good, because once you have awareness, then you can, as I've been saying all along, make a different fucking choice. So it's not about getting combative with your fear and getting combative with the ick and I will beat you down. Not that energy. I mean, you can choose to engage that way if you need to, but I much prefer a more gentle approach, which is curiosity. Oh wow, geez, I've been sitting here for 20 minutes and nothing has happened. What's going on with me? What's frightening me about this? Whew, okay, there's something really big coming, that when I look at these qualities that I'm asking to step into, and it's frightening to me, and I'm noticing that it's frightening to me, and what part of me can I access that will help me to understand that it's safe? That what part of me can I access that will give me the courage to move forward anyway? Because courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is being afraid and doing it anyway. And Fabeku has talked about, for those of you who are in his world, and I have believed this for a long time, that this whole fearless thing is a bunch of bullshit, and I completely agree. There are very, very few people who I've met in my life, and there are some who exist who are fearless, who just literally like jump and it ain't no thing. But most people, this whole fearless thing is just a bunch of crap, and it's become a way to shame people, and yet again another stick to beat yourself with. So I'm not interested in being fearless. What I am interested is courage. And that is the ability to go, oh, there's something big in this. There is something that is going to change my life. And the energy that's coming up around what's going to happen and how that's going to change my life is causing me fear right now. And so I'm fleeing, or I'm freezing, or I'm fainting, or I'm fighting. And isn't that interesting? And I wonder what other choice wants to happen. What else is possible right now? What alternatives do I have? Can I get on the Facebook page and get some support? Can I, send Paula a text and we can hop on and get on a phone call? Like, what are my other choices right now besides getting stuck here and freezing? So yeah, that's there's some really useful tools, not just for, this experience, but in life, to help you figure out what the resistance is about. And when I talked about in the beginning about there's actual true resistance, and then um there's just fear that's running the show. If you can run through your behaviors and kind of figure out, well, which one is am I freezing right now? Am I fleeing? Am I fainting? Am I fighting? Okay, does this feel like something that I'm doing because it's just in everything in my body and my soul, it's just a hell no? Or is this fear that's running the show? And when you can go through that list and kind of check your behavior against it, almost always when you're in one of the 4 F's, it's just fear running the show, because it's just fear. It's not genuine, true resistance. Okay, I've talked long enough. If you've got questions about this, please don't hesitate. Again, reaching out for support is a way of unfreezing yourself. So reach out for support. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you soon.